first of all, I have to give thanks to and credit to Mr. Kenneth Rideout of Philadelphia, who was so gracious enough to allow me to use his lifelong slide presentation for this collection, rather, for this presentation. So, Mr. Kenneth Rideout, I have in my possession this slide collection that he loaned me. It's an amazing collection. He's got hundreds of slides on steam locomotives, passenger locomotives, Alco, Fairbanks Morse, Erie, Baldwin, like all slides that he bought and purchased over the years. And this is from his Alco collection. So just a little bit about the American Locomotive Company, or ALCO. Excuse me, stop. Okay, the American Locomotive Company, which is often shortened to ALCO, was an American manufacturer of steam and diesel locomotives. They built diesel generators. They produced steel and they produced military tanks. They operated from 1901 to 1969. The company was formed by the merging of 7 small locomotive manufacturers around the country, along with the Schenectady Locomotive Manufactory of Schenectady, New York. The company changed its name to Alco Products in 1955, and the company went out of business in 1969. In 1905, Alco purchased the Rogers Locomotive Works of Paterson, New Jersey, who at the time was the second largest locomotive builder in the United States behind Baldwin Locomotive Works. After World War II, Alco operated plants only in Schenectady and Montreal, having closed all the other shops. If you didn't know, Alco was the second largest steam locomotive builder in the United States after Baldwin, and they produced over 75,000 locomotives between steam and diesel. Some of the major railroads that favored Alco products included the Delaware Hudson, the New Haven Railroad, New York Central, Milwaukee Road, and the Union Pacific. Among Alco's better-known steam locomotives were New York Central's 464 Hudsons, New York Central's 482 Mohawks, and the 484 Niagaras, for arch rival New York Central. And also they built the 4664 Challenger for the Union Pacific. Alco built many of the biggest locomotives ever constructed, to include Union Pacific's big boys, 4884 locomotives. Although Alco's superpowered steam locomotives has shown great success, 1948 was the last year that steam locomotives were built in Schenectady. Just a little bit about Alco and the Pennsylvania Railroad relationship. Then we'll get into these different slides. So, although the Pennsy eventually owned nearly 500 diesel electric locomotives built by Alco, Pensy's relationship with Alco during the steam era was minimal. Pennsy gave the bulk of its steam locomotive orders either to its own in-house workforce in Altoona or to an old and trusted Philadelphia supplier, the Baldwin Locomotive Works. However, between 1907 and 1917, Alco's Pittsburgh and Brooks Works turned out 410 H-class 280 consolidations for the Pennsy. Some other steam classes built for Pennsy were 3 K-28 and K-29 Pacifics, 1 HH1 2882 type locomotive, 10 K2SA 462s, and 140 class N1 and N2 USRA heavy design steam locomotives, 210-2s in 1919. The next association between the Pennsy and Alco happened in the late 1930s when Alco assisted the Pensy's engineering department with developing the giant S1 class 6446 duplex steam passenger locomotive, which was completed in January 1939. Pensy's strong alliance with the coal industry, along with its huge capital investment in the electrification program, precluded any major purchases of diesel locomotives. However, by 1947, the Pensy's new and complex steam locomotive designs, such as the T1, Q2, and S2, had failed to pan out. As 1947 began, Pennsy operated only 15 diesel electric locomotives, none produced by Alco. During mid-1947, the Pennsy had finally embraced the merits of the diesel electric locomotive and finally placed an order with Alco for 3 600 horsepower switchers, 10 2,000 horsepower PA units, and 5 B or booster units, PVs rather. The following year, orders were placed with ALCO for 7 1,000 horsepower S2 switchers, 1 RS1 road switcher, plus 8 FA, FB cab units. In all, a total of 495 ALCO diesels were purchased by the Pennsy between the years of 1947 to 1967. Okay, we'll now view the different classes of ALCO products that Pennsy ordered over the years and take a walk back in time when our beloved railroad was still thriving and the P Company was still regarded as the standard railroad of the world. Once again, my sincere thanks go out to Mr. Kenneth Rideout of Philadelphia for his generosity in allowing us to view his lifelong color slide collection of the late, great Pennsylvania Railroad. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to just go through all the different classes. We've got switchers, we'll start off with passenger units, freight cabs, road switchers, and road units. So first one we'll talk about is the switchers. So Pennsy had 5 different classes of ALCO switchers. Go back one way here. So they had 5 different classes of switchers, totaling 122 units that they purchased over the years. They had S1 type, which we'll go over first. Then they bought S2s, S3s, S4s, and the T6 switchers. First one we'll talk about is the S1 class. There was 27 total S1s that they purchased. They were classed AS6 on the Pennsy, 660 horsepower. So for those that don't know, the Pennsy classified their locomotives by two letters and a number. So the S1 was classed AS6. A stands for ALCO, S stands for switcher, 6 is 600 horsepower. So whatever the nearest 100 was for the horsepower, that's what they used as a number. This is AS6. It was a 660 horsepower diesel end cab switcher. So in 1946, the Pennsy ordered 3 S1 class end cab switches, which were Pensy's first ALCO diesels. Assigned class AS6, they were assigned to the New York division to replace A5 and B6 class steam switches on a 1-for-1 basis. A year later, they ordered another 14 units, and in 1949, they ordered 10 more, totaling 27 S1s. These were ALCOs. These were also assigned to the New York division working in yard and local service. All these early switchers rode on the older type blunt trucks, which we'll see, with the smaller side radiator louvers. And then notice how the Pennsylvania is spaced out on the side of the cab. So this is an S1 ALCO switcher, 660 horsepower, number 5663. This picture was taken in Trenton, March of 1965. So this is, in the scheme as it was delivered, with the small letters on the side of the cab and the Pennsylvania spelled out. It would have been a dark green locomotive enamel with Dulux gold or imitation gold lettering. It's another shot of 9444, date and location unknown, but you can see you can tell the S1s and the S2s had these older style, they call blunt trucks on them. S3 and S4, which we'll see next, has a more modern AAR type truck. So this is called a blunt truck. It's got the small radiator louvers on the side with a smaller stack. So this is a S1 switcher, date and location unknown. This is number 9467. This is a Frankfurt Junction, date unknown. But you see the, I guess the conductor on the front end there. I don't know if there's a box on the hood there. Once again, it's got the blunt truck, small louvers on the side with a smaller radiator. If you can see, it's not real clear, but they have a radio communication box here, mounted between the 2 front windshields with a small fried cracker antenna. Pennsylvania spelled out, and it's got the larger numbers on it now, if you notice. The bigger numbers getting ready for the Penn Central merger. This is number 9455, nice shot. Date and location unknown, but this has got to be mid to late 60s, but you can tell. How do you know this is how would you know this is mid 60s? What else? What about the caboose? That's a dead giveaway right there. So see how that cabin car N5C is painted in the focal orange scheme? They started that paint scheme in I think 65. So 60, the focal orange on the cabin car and the large numbers. This has got to be 65, 66, but there was no date or location on the slide itself. That's a nice shot. Got two N5C cabin cars, one with the shadow keystone and one with the plain keystone, one in freight car red, one in focal orange. And if you like this, if you like that, Bowser makes that car ready to go in the focal orange scheme, an HO. Something else on that. Somebody also left something on the front of the hook on the front of the engine there. That's real safe. That's real safe. This is 9452. Once again, the date and location are unknown on the slide. Once again, this is S1. It's got the blunt trucks on there and the small radiator louvers on the side with this Pennsylvania spelled like kind of spaced out. Small stack. Also looks like it's got the signal box on the front with a firecracker antenna. 9246. Unfortunately, this is the same thing, date and location unknown, but this has got to be late 60s. This looks like a Bill Volkmer type paint job, which was kind of uncommon. What's just a plane with the red and white keystones on it, with the large numbers. This one's got some kind of a exhaust stack on the top. And this is the last shot of S1. This is 91. Let's see here, 9100. This is supposed to be in Philadelphia in April of 1962. This is in, like I said, this is in the as delivered scheme with the small numbers with the Pennsylvania spelled out. Okay, next class we're talking about is the S2. The S2, they had a total of 42 S2s. They were classed AS10. These are 1,000 horsepower switchers. So the Pensy's fleet of 42 1,000 horsepower class AS10 Alco S2s arrived in 3 orders between 1940 and 1950. 17 were assigned to Ebenezer Yard in Buffalo. 25 of them went to the New York Division and 2 to the Eastern Division working in Wellsville, Ohio. During the 50s, the S2s stayed at their original locations, but by the early 1960s, most were assigned to the New York Division, based in Meadows, New Jersey, Martinsville, PA, and South Amboy. Once again, this class, they all rode on the blunt type trucks with the larger radiator louvers and stack. So you notice on these this is hard to tell, but I'm not sure. It didn't say where this shot is located at.
Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, where is this at?
Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
Phillipsburg, New Jersey, I'm being told. So I would say this has got to be mid-60s also, because of the large numbers. Get ready for the Penn Central merger, but this is Phillipsburg, New Jersey, number 5645. Nice shot. We got the, was that an Ardell Hotel in the background?
Wardell.
Ardell Hotel. This is number 9804. S2, same thing. Notice it's got the older blunt trucks, but now on the S2, since it's 1,000 horsepower, it's got the larger radiator screens on the sides, and it's got a more heavy-duty stack on the top. Same thing. This one's got the radio communication box with a firecracker antenna. And on a lot of these Alco switches at Pennsy, they put like the 2 windshields, where the 2 middle windshields were, they plated over the windshields to put this communication box up there.
I think you can also help tell the date by the cars in the pictures. In the one before that, they were like early to mid-60s cars.
Okay.
Yeah, that one there. That looks like maybe around a 62, that car. I believe it's a Ford.
Okay. Long way. Yeah, so this is 9804. Later on, the same thing. It looks like this is like another Bill Volkmer type paint job that maybe they didn't run over with just a plain red and white keystones that just stuck on the engines around each side. This is 9782, same thing. S2 blunt trucks, large radiators, heavy duty exhaust, just a plain red and white keystone stuck on it. 9779, location and date unknown. '97-79 again, date and location unknown. There's 9283. Notice the original, it's got the smaller numbers on it. This is the way they were delivered. This is the way God created them when he brought them into the world, and that paint scheme right there, the small numbers on it. And the last one would be 5846, location and date unknown. But it's got a nice shot of a Pennsy X29 boxcar in the Shadow Keystone paint scheme. And all these switchers, the fuel tank, with the film of fuel, the fuel nozzle was located right behind the cab on the lower right-hand side was a fuel fill. And I was reading that when they fill, a lot of fuel would leak. And all the fuel would kind of leak along this walkway and come around the side of the engine. All the fuel would leak. Of course, the fill was right there. Okay, now this is an S3 class, real quick. So S3 had 13 total S3s, also class AS6, but once again 660 horsepower. So internally and externally, the S3 model was basically an S1 switcher that rode on the new General Steel Casting AAR type truck. Pennsy ordered total 13 units in 1950 and classed them as AS6, the same as the S1 model. Both were 660 horsepower. Mostly all the S3s were assigned to the Western Panhandle and Lake regions. Notice how the Pennsylvania lettering is now closer together for some reason. So the standard railroad of the world was not standard for some reason. The lettering got a lot more closer now. So this is starting with the S3 and the S4 and T6. They use these newer trucks on them instead of the older blunt. They went to this General Steel Casting AAR type truck. And it's got the small radiator loops on the side. Here's a general question. Notice that Pennsy boxcar over there. What's the letters DFB on that door mean? Anybody? It's extra credit points. What is it? What? Yeah, damage free. But what? That's how about the B? What's the B stand for? DFB.
Damage free boxcar.
Damage-free bulkhead. So just a little sidetrack. So all you Pennsy modelers out there, these boxcars, you see all these different classes of boxcars. They got these different letters on the side. They have DF, DFB, QL. You see PC, SL, LD, and STB. What they were, they're all these different cars. When you see those letters on there, they had like 4 different manufacturers that made these like kind of internal load restraining systems that would lock the load in. So the letter signifies what kind of loading device, load retaining device is inside the boxcar. And you had different companies making. So this DFB, that stands for damage-free bulkheads. And they were made by this Evans company. So DF stood for damage-free. That was Evans Company. DFB was damage-free bulkheads, Evans. And then you see QL, that stood for quick loader. Quick loader, that was also made by Evans Company. Then you'll see some cars have PC on the side. PC, that stood for Pullman Standard Compartmentizer. Pullman Compartmentizer, obviously made by the Pullman Standard Company. You might see one that has SL. SL, that means stage loading. Stage loading. That was built by the Transportation Specialty Company. Then you had LD, stood for Load Divider. That was Equipco. This Equipco company made the LD. Then the last one, you had STB. That was Spartan Tri-Belt. That was made by the Spartan Company. So you had all these different letters. When you see that, just so you know, in the future, that tells you what kind of load retaining device was inside that specific boxcar to keep the load intact. All right, here's another S3. What are we at here? S3 number 9475. Date and location unknown, but that's a Marty Zach photo. And if you can see off to the side, here's an example. See this? I think it looks like a Pennsy X58 type 50-foot plug door boxcar. It's probably got DF or DFB on it. There's 8880. Date and location unknown. Same thing. It's got the newer style AAR trucks on there with the smaller louvers and smaller stacks, 660 horsepower S3 type. And this is 9479. This is just a good shot of the rear cab. And so like I said, that's where the fuel fill is at on these Alco switchers. Now, this is getting into class S4, and this is an S4 switcher. So there was 34 total S4s. They were class AS10 or AS10M, 1,000 horsepower. So the S4s were basic S2s with the newer AAR trucks. The Pennsy considered the S2s and S4s to be identical, assigning both models class AS10, with the exception of 10 units that came with MU capability, and they were class AS10N for MU equipped. Most of these were assigned to the Lake Division and New York divisions. Two of them, numbers 8900 and 8901, came equipped with train phone antenna, and these two units were assigned to the Belldale branch in New Jersey. So this is number 9768, class S4, 1,000 horsepower switcher. Same thing, it's got the newer trucks on there with the larger radiator vents, heavier duty exhaust stack. This one's got some kind of a awning cap sheet on it. 9768, the slide says this was shot in Erie in August of 1967. Uh, 9790, date and location unknown. Anybody know what year what kind of car is that? A what? 55 Buick? All right. There's number.
Can we see that again, the car?
What's that?
Could you go back to that car again?
Yeah, hold on. What kind of?
It is mid-50s. It's a GM. It could be an old. It does look like around a 55.
I'm being told by the president of the national that's a 56 Oldsmobile.
Well, that was close to what I said.
All right.
It looks like a GM car from the mid-50s, possibly an older Buick, like the other person said.
I wasn't born until 1960, so I take you guys' word on it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was born back then, so.
Oh, yeah, this is 9797, date and location unknown, S4. 9773, look at that, what nice weathering job. Whoever weathered that engine did a good job. It looks realistic as hell. 9768, look at them keystones all faded out. This one has an MU on the ends. And this is weird. I never really saw these switches with the white lettered numbers on the end of it. That's kind of weird. Look at the keystone, it's basically faded away. 8896, date and location unknown, but this is in the as delivered scheme, small numbers. Typical Alco switcher on the Pennsy. 8431, saying this is in Toledo, Ohio, January 1962. So this has still got the as delivered paint scheme on it. And then 8430, same thing, just the way God brought him into the world, an original paint scheme. So that's the last shot of the S4 class, and the last class is the T6 switcher, T6s. So, this is the last class of switchers, class T6. These are kind of unique switchers. They only had 6 of them. There's only 6 total. These are kind of like Alco's last switchers that they produced. So there was these are class AS10A. They're 1,000 horsepower switchers. So the Pennsy had 6 of these T6 type Alco switchers, and they were delivered in March 1958 and were among the last switchers purchased by the Pennsy. They were classed, like I said, AS10A with 1,000 horsepower. The Pennsy was the first T6 customer, followed by the Norfolk Western, who ordered 40 units. So the Pennsy and the Norfolk Western was really only 2 railroads that owned this class of switcher. Initially, the T6s were assigned to Enola Yard, but by the early 60s, they migrated to the Philadelphia area, mainly working Morrisville, Pennsylvania yard. While they carried the same 1,000 horsepower rating as the S2s and S4s, the T6s were powered by AlCO's newer 251 series prime mover, which was more reliable than the older 244 series. The T6s featured AlCO's distinctive notch nose that its road switchers had. So these T switches are easily identified by this notch on the end of the nose there. That's where the sand fill was at, these two on both sides of the sand fills. So it's a unique looking switcher with this notched end. And Pennsy had 6, Norfolk and Western had 40 of them. This is number 9849, date and location unknown. 9846, nothing on the slide, but it's got the larger numbers on it now. It's probably mid-60s. 9845. It's 84. It's number 8428. It's a nice shot. I don't. It didn't say on the slide, but I'm pretty sure this looks like the hack track in Enola Yard with with a line of cabin cars here. So that's a nice shot, downward view, probably from that iron bridge in Harrisburg, Enola, near Enola. It's got a Pennsy N5C and the newer Shadow Keystone. Who could tell me what the significance of why they paint the cupola yellow? Good, man. Yeah, so the Pennsy, like normally, like on a Pennsy, these cabin cars, a lot of cabin cars were assigned to a certain job, and they stayed on that job, whatever it might be. See a cabin car with a yellow cupola on it, that means it wasn't assigned to a certain job. It was in a general pool service, east-west. So they could have went anywhere on the main line, on a mainline train heading east or west. And a lot of times you'll see these cupolas, they were painted like a light gray. That meant like a light gray on a cupola. That meant it was assigned to pool service for north-south service. So yellow is general pool service for east-west operations. Gray is north-south, general pool service. But that's another nice job. Whoever weathered that cabin car, they did a good job. Man, it looks good. Looks real. There's number 8428. Date and location unknown, but that's a neat looking black car back there. What is that?
That's from the 40s. That looks like a late 40s, that black car. But the white one to the right of the black one looks like 50s. So somewhere in between that. It's definitely a 40s one, that black one.
Okay. There's another 8426. Also 8426. That's supposed to be Philadelphia in May of 1968. $98.46. Date and location unknown. And finally, 8424. Date and location unknown, but this has still got the original as delivered smaller numbers on it. So that's the last slide for the T6, and that's going to end the switcher part. Next class we'll talk about is the passenger cab units they purchased. Passenger cab units. So the only passenger cab units that they purchased from ALCO were 5 ABA sets of PA1s and PB1s. Originally classed AP3, later classed AP20, and then later than that, classed AFP20. So originally they were classed AP3. When they first started this classification system, they classed them as AP3, meaning they bought them in an ABA set, a 3-unit set. ALCO, P, passenger, 3-unit set. So they ordered 5, they only had 5 ABA sets of these ALCO PAs. And these are 2,000 horsepower units with a single prime mover in there. And just real quick about these passenger cab units, it says although the Pennsy units were not the first Alco diesels on the Pennsy, they were the first true road service diesel delivered by the Schenectady builder in 1947. At At the time they were delivered, the Pennsy already had 9 ABA sets of EMD E7s and 7 sets of Baldwin Centipedes in passenger service, pulling blue ribbon trains. All these new road units were planned to power all the Pensy's primary or blue ribbon passenger trains. ALCO received an order of 5 ABA sets of its 2,000 horsepower passenger units, and they were delivered in October of 1947. When the units arrived, they were immediately placed into the passenger locomotive pool and based out of Harrisburg. The units were delivered in Pensy's standard paint scheme of dark green locomotive enamel with 5 gold leaf stripes with toluidine red keystones, and it came with 3 coats of shiny varnish to protect the gold leaf lettering. In mid-1948, the Pennsy changed their concept of using 6,000 horsepower sets, and they decided to power passenger trains across the system and began breaking the 3-unit sets down into AB sets, 2 AB sets, an AB set rather, instead of ABAs. Serious mechanical problems began to appear with the PA's Model 244 prime mover, and it had overheating traction motors, as well as prime mover problems. They had a lot of problems with the crankshafts not holding up. To help solve the traction motors overheating, 2 vertical screens began to be applied to the noses of the units, which we'll see, to help cool the forward motors. In 1952, a new paint scheme was adopted by Pennsy, and the PAs received 3 coats of Tuscan red with imitation gold or Dulux lettering. About the same time, Pennsy replaced the original small streamlined number boards with the larger 45-degree angled boards. By the early to mid-1950s, it became apparent that EMD was producing a much more reliable passenger locomotive. By 1957, the B units were kept in the Harrisburg passenger pool to work with E7s and E8s, while the A units were assigned to the Northern, Pittsburgh, and New York regions. The pair of A units that went to the New York division were placed in commuter service on the New York and Long Branch. In 1961, 3 sets of A units were assigned to the Philadelphia division and worked in freight service. In summary, the PAs were thought by many to be the most beautifully designed diesels aesthetically on the outside. However, but on the inside, their inside 244 series prime mover was not capable of providing reliable day-to-day operation. Okay, so this is a builder's photo of number 5754. Beautiful. These are probably the most appealing passenger diesel locomotives ever designed. However, they did not fare well. Were not reliable. A lot of problems with the 244 series engines, overheating traction motors, and the crankshafts wouldn't hold up. This is 57, 55 builder's shot. When these were delivered, a lot of people don't know, but they came delivered in the dark green locomotive scheme with 5 gold leaf stripes, toluidine red keystones, 3 coats of varnish on them for priority passenger service. Here's a builder's shot of a B or booster unit. Here's a nice shot of 5756 ABA set. It looks like it might be horseshoe curve. I'm not sure. It doesn't say on the slide, but this is the way God brought them into the world. Dark green, 5 gold stripes, ABAs. This is the Freedom 1776 Freedom train. This was this shot on the slide. It says June 1947. This is in Lancaster, PA. So 1946, the Pennsy put this. I don't know if it was Pennsy, but they used a Pennsy locomotive, and they put this Freedom train together. Traveled all around the country, and it had made all different stops around the country that contained all original U.S. Documents. I'm not sure exactly what was in there, but it was called the Freedom Train. It just kind of traveled around the country and exhibiting all United States different historic documents. It supposedly had the. I'm being told that it had the original Declaration of Independence inside one of these cars for display. What else, Andy? the U.S. Constitution, and there was had like Marines assigned to the train as guards as it went around the country, so the public can view all these different historic documents. But that was one of the Pensy's PA units that they used. This is 1947 in Lancaster. This is 5751. Same thing, September 1949. It's supposed to be at Parkton, Maryland. Looks like an ABB set. There's 5756, January 1962 at Altoona. I notice this is the second scheme that the 1952 they decided to go with the Tuscan red. They started painting passenger units Tuscan red with the 5 imitation gold dewap stripes. And then they also went to the large. They took the smaller number boards off and started putting these larger angular number boards on the end for better visibility. There's another shot of 5756. Yeah, it's Camden, saying June 1959, Camden, New Jersey. It's assigned to freight service at this point. Yeah, these things, they really didn't hold up in mainline passenger high-speed service, so they kind of got bumped down to freight service later on. And you notice this one here has some screens on, 2 screens on the end of the nose. That's kind of what they did that to try and help cool these lead sets of traction motors from overheating. There's 5757. This is 1960, also in Camden. Now notice this has got the freight scheme on it. Set narrow stripe freight scheme on it because it was assigned to freight service at this time here. And they were mandated at this time to put these grab irons on the side of the nose for safety to get up on top to clean the windshields. This is what, 5757. This is June 1960, Philadelphia. 5757 again. This is painted, it's got 2 A units in the later freight scheme. I don't know, I'm not sure where this is at, but if I had to make a guess, it looks like they might have used these units that day to pull like maybe an Army-Navy game coming up from the south. Hatfield? PRSL? All right. With it, yeah. Okay, I'm being told the other A unit is number 5758. They were teamed up in freight service. I'm being told this is probably Haddonfield, New Jersey. Probably during the summertime, pull just past shore trains. 5757 again, saying Philadelphia, June of 59. Another shot at 5757. Date and location unknown. $57.58. Supposed to be in Camden, New Jersey, also in July of 1962. Same thing. Got bumped down to freight service. $57.58. Supposed to be once again Camden, New Jersey. 762. $57.59. Date and location unknown. This is the Tuscan red 5-stripe pushing on a back of an N5C cabin car. It's got, it doesn't say. A lot of these slides didn't have the dates or locations on. But you can see the most beautifully designed passenger diesel locomotive ever made has been bumped down to helper service somewhere. It's a dark slide, but doesn't say where this is at. There's a neat slide. You got 2 A units pushing on the back of an I-1, probably pushing an ore train somewhere near Shamokin.
No, that's the Elmira branch.
Elmira branch? Oh, let me go back here. Hold on. How can you tell that's the Elmira branch and not an ore train? Okay. Yeah, so I'm being told this is probably somewhere on the Elmira branch. They use the 2A units as helpers. So you got a pair of beautiful PA1s. AA said pushing on the back of an I1. That's helpers. That's zoo interlocking. 5752 again. Saying this is December of 61 in Altoona. Philadelphia, September 1959. Everybody should know where this is. Yeah, that's North Philadelphia Station, yeah. It's got one A unit just pulling like a 4-car train. Probably a PRSL train, yeah. Notice it's got the 2 screens cut out on the front there to help alleviate the overheating traction motors on the front. But it seemed like the Pennsy wasn't real big on keeping their equipment clean. Look at it, look at the rust and disgust on the side of that engine. Another shot of 5752, date and location unknown. Nice shot of 5753 overhead shot. Who can tell me what that other locomotive is? Yeah, that Fairbanks Morris Erie built. Yeah, FF20s. So that was basically Fairbanks Morris's competition to the Alco PA. That was also originally they bought these Erie builts. And ABA sets 2,000 horsepower to compete with these PAs. Both of them did not last long in passenger service. They got bumped down to freight service. They couldn't compete with E&D. E&D had was producing a much superior item than the Alco and Fairbanks Morse. (5753A), this says date and location unknown. You think, I'm being told it might be on the New York and Long branch. (5754A), saying December 1958, somewhere in Baltimore. Look at that touch-up job on a pilot. Damn. I wonder what that's about. They probably had some kind of front end damage that they just fixed the damage, just touched up the pilot. That's an ADA set. Look at this weathering job. 5754. This saying April 62, Canton, Ohio. And that looks like a FB2 rather back there. FB, which we'll go over next. FB. So they say there's a prototype for everything, especially on the PRR. The standard railroad of the world was the most unstandardized things at times. Anything that they had in the yard to run. 5755A, that's a nice shot. ABA said new Tuscan red. Might be Horseshoe Curve, I'm not sure. No, it doesn't look like Horseshoe Curve, it's only single track.
No, that's Rockville.
Coming off Rockville Bridge?
No, going on to Rockville Bridge from Enola.
Okay, so he's coming out of the Y, going from Enola Yard, heading eastbound or wherever, yeah. Northbound. Okay, yeah, that's nice looking set. ABA reminds me of the old Athearn PAs when they came out back in the day. Thought they had them Tuscan red 5-stroke Athearns. It was 5755 again. Looks like they for some reason they took the lost its number board on one side. There's 5756A saying date is unknown, but it's saying it's Philadelphia somewhere. There's a 5758B unit, January 1962, sitting in Altoona Yard. That's supposed to be a, no, that's a the Alco B unit. So, I was reading what was saying in the books. These PAs, they ordered them in ABA sets, but they were initially all signed to Harrisburg for free service. Then they decided to just make two A units together, and they kept all the B units in the Harrisburg pool to mate with the E7s and the E8. So this is a PB unit with a single narrow, with a large narrow strike. This would have been working with E7s and E8s. All right, moving right along, we're going to talk about freight cabs. This is an FA1 and an FA2. So this is Alco's freight version of the PAs. Same, looks kind of similar looking, but a shorter body four-wheel trucks freight version. So they had 16 total FBs. They had 8. They purchased 8 A units and 8 Bs. Class AF15, 1,500 horsepower. So real quick about these FA1s. In October 1947, Pennsy ordered 2 ABBA sets of Alco's new FA freight cabs, which were rated at 1,500 horsepower and were supposedly equivalent to E&D's F3s. Arriving in July 1948, the 2 sets carried 9600 series road numbers and shared the same basic car body styling as their passenger counterpart, the PAs, but in a more compact layout. Unlike EMD's F3s, the FAs were not assigned to the system-wide freight pool, but rather to the central region where they powered trains between Conway, Yard, and Crestline, Ohio. 2 years later, in March of 1950, Alco received another order for 2 more ABBA sets. One of the new sets went to join the first 2 sets in Conway Crestline service. The other new set was assigned to Columbus, Ohio. Once again, it became apparent that the unit's 244 series prime mover suffered from serious design deficiencies. In 1954, all units were transferred to the Lake region, and in 1955, they moved on to the Philadelphia region, where they pulled low priority general freights and mineral trains. Unloved and unwanted, the Alco FA1 spent their final years pulling coal and ore trains in southwestern Pennsylvania. So this is number 9602, a builder's shot. (9603), same thing, front shot of builder's photo. Notice on the FA1s, they got the smaller number boards, and they got these 2 handrails on the front of the nose, which you won't see in the FA2s. They took them off. There's a builder's photo of the B unit booster. 9600 B unit also, builder shot. There's number 9600 coming off the Rockville Bridge in March 1956. Looks like an ABB set. So this is kind of early. You can tell it's kind of early by still has the engine number and the keystone on the nose. Later on, they would just put the plain PRR keystone on the front of the nose, not to do away with the road number now. But this is kind of like the way God brought them into the world. It's a nice shot. They're fairly new. And the engineer or the conductor's looking at the person taking the shot. Like, who's this guy? It looks like somewhere on the middle division. Okay, this is 9601. I'm sorry, 9600 rather, coming off Rockville Bridge, saying March 56. Same thing. It looks like it's going into Enola Yard, right? And if you notice, this one's weird. It's got the largest, bigger keystone on the nose. I read it said this unit was in some kind of an accident. It had front end damage on the nose. They fixed the nose, and somehow they put this larger keystone on the front, which should have had a smaller one. That's uncommon for the FAs. That big keystone on there. There's 9601, date and location unknown, but looks like somewhere in the middle division. Nice ABA max set. 9603, date and location unknown, but it's got you notice it now has just the PRR insignia on the nose instead of the road number. 9605, this is saying it's in Tyrone, Pennsylvania, November of 1960. Same thing, 9605, Tyrone, April 1960. 9605, this is saying Enola Yard, June 1959. Look how dirty these things were. I don't know what they had. I guess they didn't have car washes back then, or they didn't have washing facilities, or what? 9605 doesn't say on the slide, but this looks like Enola Yard, I imagine. And we're going to talk about the FA2s next, but on the an easy way to identify an FA1 from an FA2, the way I look at it is FA1 got the smaller number boards with the number on the bottom, along with the Pennsylvania. Once we get into the FA2s, you'll see they moved this number up here, and they had the bigger, like, angular number boards on the FA2s, and they did away with this. They did away with the hammer on the nose. They had a different style filter grills on the side. All right, this is a nice Pennsy shot. Look at this cold day. Man, this guy was hardcore out there taking pictures on this day. It's freezing. This is 9608, 9606 rather. It's got a GP, looks like a GP9 or GP7 back there. Date and location unknown. 9606. It's a Martin Zach photo, 2A units. 9607, saying this is July 1961. It looks like Altoona Yard, I imagine. Look at all that sand. Sand on the side, laying down sand, all that grayish white weathering on the side of the engine. 9607, St. Trent, New Jersey, October 63. 9607 again. And this is 9607 again, saying Bellwood, Pennsylvania, outside Altoona, in October 1959. We'll get these FA2s real quick. These are FA2s now. I don't know. I'm not sure what that engine back there is. But all right, so we're going to talk about the FA2s real quick. FB2s, they had 24, a total of 24 A's and 12 B's. 36 total, class AF16. These are 1,600 horsepower. So the FA2, so in an effort to fully dieselize its central region quickly, Pennsy ordered 6 ABA sets of the newer model and received them in May 1951. So between the time the FA1s were delivered and the FA2s arrived, Alco had revamped their FAB design and re-rated the model's 12-cylinder 244 series prime mover from 1,500 to 1,600 horsepower. Also, Alco incorporated several engineering improvements in the new model, but they were still powered with the same problematic 244 series engine. The final order of cab units that Alco built for the Pennsy was a group of 6 ABA sets arriving in late 1951. These units joined their earlier brothers and joined the same central region freight pool. In 1954, all were transferred to the Lake region, and a year later they were sent to the Philadelphia region, and finally in 1957 moved to the Pittsburgh region. Some visual items to look for between FAs and FA2s are larger angular number boards and drip strip over the radiator louvers, battery box located along the side sill of both the front truck, and the two grab irons on the nose removed. All right, this is number 9627 coming off the Rockville Bridge in October 1954. Still got the original door coupler pilot doors closed on it. I'm not sure what that looks like. Another Alco switcher back there going to somebody. Yeah, it was a Swift reefer. You got a red Swift reefer there. This is 9629. Date and location unknown. Looks like somewhere in the middle division. This is a neat shot. This is date and location unknown. A nice shot on this elevated trestle. Anybody know where this is?
Looks like Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, New York. I'm being told possible. All right. This is 9629 also, date and location unknown, but it's a Marty Zach shot. So anything, this looks like somewhere in the middle division.
Looks like Duncannon.
Duncannon. This is 9627. Location unknown, but it's April 1960. Same thing, it's got a ABA set. 9627 is supposed to be in Conway Yard, September 1959. Now, once again, you can tell, quick way to note it, to tell an FA from an FA1 from an FA2. Same thing, they they relocated the battery boxes on the FA2s down below here. See the battery box vents, they put the number, they raised the number from down here and put the number up above the strike. They had these bigger angular number boards. They removed the two grab irons on the front of the nose, and they put this rain drip strip above that one intake grill. And they increased it by 100 horsepower from 15 to 1600 horses. Another way when these FA2s were delivered, they had like a chrome trim around the windshield, which is kind of distinctive for it. You kind of see it there. And if you like these models, Rapido made these like 3 years ago. Rapido made these in HO scale FA2 models. Beautiful. 9623 saying Enola 1964. Looks like a FP7 maybe, or F7A back there. 9621. That looks like Enola Yard, I would say. 9622. Date and location unknown. There's a builder. Oh, I'm sorry. This is. Let me change that slide. This is the first slide we saw. I think, oh, this ain't no. This is the DA1. That's not the FA unit. This is the end of this tray here. Hold on one second. All right, that's that. So 9620. Look at this AB. Look at the difference between the two paint schemes. One looks like fresh out of the shop, and the other one looks like it's been through hell. It looks like somewhere in the middle division. 9617. 9614 looks like it's blowing the turbo or something. All that oil dripping down the side. 9614. 9613. Leon. Anybody know where this is at? Leolin? Excuse me, back up. It's on the Elmira division? Elmira branch, all right.
The Elmira branch that ran up to Sodas Point.
Okay. $96.12. This is supposed to be in Marsville Yard, June 1965. Looks like it might have caught on fire or something. 9611, Enola, August 1956. It's a nice shot. Looks like they're fairly, but ABA, good, nice matching set ABA units. 9611, 9610, 9609. Everybody knows where this is at, right?
Really?
Enola, Enola Engine House. And look at that P5A in the front there. What do you see wrong with that? I remember Bill Volkmer telling stories about when he was the in charge of like these different repair shops. They would be pressured by the management to get these units out of the shop and get them on the road a lot. And he said a lot of times, just to appease the bosses, they would just paint the whole underframe black and kick it out of the shop so that they thought that the work was done on it. So that's what it looked like here. These P5s, they had a lot of problems with the frames cracking, so they would like kind of repaint the whole frame gloss black. 9622, 628, 28 again. All right, that's it. That's it for the FA2s. Then we'll move on to these row switches real quick.
All right.
Yeah, that's an RS1. All right, so these are next category. Got two more categories: road switchers and road units. So, okay, all right. So in 1948, this is an RS1 class. They had 27 total RS1s, 1,000 horsepower, class AS10 AM. So in 1948, Pennsy bought its first road switcher, RS1 number 5906, and assigned it to Baltimore Parked and Commuter Service. 2 years later, Pennsy received its second order of RS1s, 22 units numbered 5619 to 5841. These units came with MU connections only on the short hood end. In 1951, they received two more RS1s, numbers 8857, 8858, which were steam generated equipped for passenger service, but had no MU capabilities. 1952, they purchased the final two RS1s, number 8485 and 8486, which came equipped with MU connections on both ends. Out of a total of 27 RS1s, only 14 were equipped with train phone antennas. This RS1 number 5823. Oh yeah, that's the way they designed these road switches for get a better view of what's going on in front of us. So this is 5623 RS1 with train phone. 5632. Excuse me, yo guys, take it outside, please. Excuse me. Hello, go. This is 5632 in Canton, Ohio, December 1963. 5634, Toledo, January 62. 5634, Toledo, Ohio, 1962. So RS1. It's a nice shot. It's like a fairly new. It has a liver paint scheme with an N5 cabinet in the back. This is no train phone. This is 9917. It's got the larger numbers on it. It looks like that cab is either got red. It looks like it's red tinted for some reason. So I don't think they painted the roofs red, but it looks red for some reason. And then 9923, but later I call it Bill Volker paint scheme. Same with just plain keystones. Next class we'll talk about real quick is the RS2 fleet. Okay, so these are class RS2s. There was this is actually an RS3, but the Pennsy had they leased 6 RS2s from the Delaware and Hudson. So there's no slide to the RS2s, but the RS2s, they had 6 of them. They leased 6 RS2s from the Delaware and Hudson in mid-1955. And then they bought them outright 3 years later after the lease was up. But this is I don't have any, there's no photos of the RS2s. This is the RS3s now we're into. So out of RS3s, there was a total of 115 of them, class AS16M, 1600 horsepower. So in the scramble to dieselize as quickly as possible, Pennsy bought large numbers of units from all the major builders in the early 1950s. Included in this buying frenzy were 99 AlCO RS3s acquired between early 51 through the end of 1953 on 5 different orders. They placed 3 additional orders for 16 units, which were delivered in late 55 and late 56. The RS3s were ordered with specific equipment, which was needed for the particular assignment that engine was destined for, to include steam generator equipped for passenger service, either had train phones and cash signals for mainline use. Some came with MU capabilities to meet tonnage requirements. Only one RS3 number, 8914, was ordered with no options. One group, numbers 8837 to 8856, were equipped with steam generators and bi-directional control stands. 19 units came equipped with dynamic brakes, and one unit, number 8445, came with a steam generator and dynamic brakes, which caused the short hood to be raised in height to the cab roof and was nicknamed the hammerhead unit. Among the problems that arose in the early RS3s were their air-cooled turbochargers. The RS3s delivered in 1955 came with water-cooled turbochargers that corrected an overheating problem. All earlier RS3s were retrofitted with the water-cooled turbos. Out of 115 RS3s, 95 or 83% had train phone antennas. So this is number 8590. Front end shot. It's got the angle number board. This is probably like a later RS3. Doesn't say. Didn't say what was that. This is 8471. Same thing. This is a train phone on it. It's got the cash signal box on the side. They have all different kind of configurations. They ordered these RS3s and like all different orders, and they all came equipped with different features on them. And if you didn't get yours outbound, it just came out with these Pennsy RS3s. This is 8445 in Renovo, Pennsylvania, October 1966. 3-unit set. See a lot of shops, they ran these RS3s in 3-unit sets. This is supposed to be Indianapolis, 1963. 8471, April 1960. 8851, October 1966. Looks like it might be the battery box. There's some kind of maintenance on it. This looks like it could be Horseshoe Curve, 8830, 8839. 8848, 8841 rather, end shot. 8839, date and location unknown. 8911. Nice looking units. Beautiful. It's a nice set, fairly new, good condition. This is probably put with a steam generator for passenger service in the Pittsburgh area. I'm not sure where this is at. Kiskiminis Junction. That's out near Pittsburgh. Okay. This is 4047. It's supposed to be Sturgis, Michigan, May 1961. 5421, date and location unknown. 5465, unknown, location and date. 5558. What's that little, anybody tell me what's that little sign there mean? The little red and white sign, what's that?
Radio equipped.
Radio equipped. Outstanding. I mean, so you can notice they took the train phone antenna off, and they once they came out with the solid state radios in like the mid to late '60s, they put these red and white stickers on the diesel, letting you know that engine had like solid state radio system instead of the old train phone setup. GG1s, yeah, they had them. 5576, supposed to be Renovo, November of '66. Look at that weathering job. Mid 60s, like 65. Central merger, mid 60s. This is Hammerhead number 5589. Only one unit. This had, it's called a Hammerhead. You can notice this had a steam generator and dynamic brakes on the end of it, so it caused the short hood to be raised up high to fit the steam generator and the dynamic brake inside the short hood. It was 8445 at Renovo, 1967. And then the Pennsy, they leased this Hammerhead unit later on. They leased it to Lehigh Valley. It ended its career on Lehigh Valley. That's 8445 Hammerhead. Next, real quick, is these RSD 5s. These are 6-axle road switchers. This is class RS. This is RSD 5. Had a total of 6 of them. AS16A, 1600 horsepower. So the Pennsy had a need for heavy duty switching and hump yard service, so which led them to order 6-axle RSD 5s from Alco 1952. These 1600 horsepower units rode on Alco designed tri-mount trucks with odd, uneven axle spacing on the trucks. One unit was assigned to work the iron ore and coal piers at Greenwich Yard in South Philly. The other 5 units went to Baltimore and Wilmington, Delaware to work the numerous industrial spurs and sidings. They were built without MU capability, and single RSD 5s could be seen daily in this service. In 1965, all 6 units received MU equipment and were reclassified as AS16AN. There's 2 slides of RSD 5s. Yeah, that's the as delivered scheme for the RSD 5. Just saying, it's the same Alco Swit RS3, just rode on 6-wheel trucks. Next is the RS11. Here's your RS11, same thing. If you like these units, Rapido made these about 4 or 5 years ago. They're nice models, HO scale from Rapido. They had 38 RS11s. These were 1,800 horsepower units. Alco RS11 model was Alco's answer to the then popular and more reliable AMD GP9 model. Alco boasted that its 1,800 horsepower RS11 had an additional 50 horsepower over its GP9's 1,750. A backlog of orders at AMD occurred in the mid-50s, and many railroads, including the Pennsy, turned to Alco as a backup to supply diesel locomotives needed to eliminate steam by the end of the decade. So there's got about 10 shots of this RS11. So this is 7652. This is supposed to be in Trenton, September 1968. It's got the larger numbers on it. You notice they used this. The Pennsylvania was closer together letter instead of spread out on the side of the cab. This 7645 date location unknown. 7625 unknown. I'm being told this is on the Belldell division in New Jersey. Nice old country farmhouse there. 7617 date and location unknown. 3 unit set. Where is it? All right. Okay. 7617. 8617 later scheme, just a plain Keystones, large numbers. They took the no more Pennsylvania lettering on the side. 8626, supposed to be in Altoona, February 57. That's the as delivered paint scheme. No train phone on there. Well, I'm sorry, yeah, there's a train phone, it's on the other side, you can't see it. 8628, Looks like saying Cleveland, August 1959. 8629 front end shot. 8631, nice shot, as delivered scheme. Another 8631. See the train phone on this one. 8632. Date and location unknown. Looks like they just cleaned off the numbers so you can read it, what the engine number. So somebody seen a model like that, somebody did that. Like, why is that? That's not prototypical. They just cleaned up the numbers off. You can see that's what they did back in the day. Next class real quick is the RSD7s. They had 5 RSD7s. They were 2,400 horsepower class APS 24 MS. So the Pennsy was looking for a single unit helper locomotive to help passenger and mail trains get up the 11-mile mainline grade over the Horseshoe Curve. So in 1955, the Pennsy turned to Alco and its new 2,400 horsepower RSD7 locomotive. The delivery of Pensy's RSD7s began in late 55 and immediately went to work on the East Slope Hill. While their typical Horseshoe Curve duties only call for speeds of 30 to 40 miles per hour, these units were also served as passenger protection valve. The Pennsy shortly discovered that while single prime mover locomotives with 2,400 horsepower were able to handle the rated horsepower, their electrical components could not keep up with the needed electrical output for long periods of time. By the 1960s, not only had the length of passenger trains been reduced, but so had the number of trains needed, and the displaced RSD7s went to the northern region. They worked as helpers out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. They worked on the Elmira branch, and at Emporium, PA, working up Heating Summit. So this is a RSD7. Let's see, you got 5 slides. This is 8608, date and location unknown. There's 8608, nice shot as delivered scheme. Same thing, like I said, they ordered these to help for passenger train helper to get up over the Horseshoe Curve. But they didn't really work, they weren't that reliable on that service, and they got bumped out of there and sent to different locations. There's 8606, pulling a 3-car commuter train somewhere. 6808, Altoona, 1969. 6807, date and location unknown.
They were unusual in that they were ordered to run long or short hood first.
Right.
They were the first Pennsy diesels to run short hood first.
Right. You notice the same thing. The Pennsylvania is like real close together on that real long hood. That's kind of weird. It's got the larger pre-merger numbers on there. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. Next is RSD12. There are 25 RSD12s, 1,800 horsepower. So during the mid-1950s, the Pennsy reassigned 30 ABA sets of EMD F3 and F7s from helper service to mainline road service between Altoona and Pittsburgh. This left a void to be filled, and in late 1957, they placed 2 orders with Alco for a total of 25 RSD12 units. Powered by the same 1,800 horsepower 251B power plant as the RS11s, the RSD12s were geared for helper and drag service. They were equipped with 2,000-gallon fuel tanks to minimize fuel stops. When they arrived in late 1957, early 58, they were assigned in 3 and 4 unit helper sets working between Altoona and Pittsburgh. The RSD-12s became a regular fixture leading or pushing trains around Horseshoe Curve up until the mid-1960s. Yeah, somebody's mentioned that fuel tank looks like it's real low. almost touching the track, but it's saying at the end of the Pennsy, the RSD-12s have been bumped from their helper duties to secondary and local service in the Philadelphia and Baltimore areas. While the basic equipment used on RS-11s and RSD-12s was the same, Alco lengthened the frame of the RS-11 approximately 12 inches to accommodate the 6-axle tri-mount trucks. All 25 units had dynamic brakes, but no train phone antenna. For some reason, they didn't come with train phones. See real quick. We got 6 RSD-12 shots. So this is number 6857, date and location unknown. It's got the later paint scheme, just plain keystones and a large number. 6873, it's got the Pennsylvania with the large numbers. 6875, date, location unknown. 8658, looks like Altoona Yard. There's a set of helpers around a horseshoe curve. Looks like it's pulling a, looks like they're helping up looks like a pass fender that they're hooked onto, going around the curve. And there's 8674 and 8675, also around horseshoe curve. So that's your RSD-12s. And then the last class is the RSD-15s. So these are RSD-15s. I had 6 of these, 24 horsepower also. These 6 RSD-15s were purchased in June of '56 and worked at hump yard pushers and yard engines and then local service in the Philadelphia region. Originally based out of Enola Yard, they eventually found their way to yards in Morrisville, PA, Williamsport, and Northumberland. All 6 units came with dynamic brakes and train phone antennas. These are your RSD-15s. This is 8614, date and location unknown. There's 8612 going into Enola Yard, coming off the Rockville Bridge. It looks like there's another Alco unit back there, maybe an RS-11. Got 6816, this is in Emporium, PA, in July of 1967. And then 6813, this is in Toledo, November 1969. And we got 2 shots of 6811. For some reason, look at the frame. The engine's like destroyed weather-wise, but the frame is real nice and clean. Look at that. Fresh coat of black paint on the frame. Here's 6811, date, location unknown. All right, hang in there. Last one I'm going to talk about is these road units, and that's going to conclude the slide presentation. So they ordered these, also they ordered road units. So this is the first one we'll talk about is class RS-27. They had a total of 15 RS-27s. These are 21 horsepower, class AF-24s. These were this was Alco's competition to the EMD GP30s, General GE's U25Bs. So in 1962, the Pennsy began a program of upgrading its diesel fleet by retiring early first-generation models. In late 1962, Pennsy placed an order with Alco for 15 RS-27 units, using the same number of Alco P8 and B units, all of them for trade-in credit. They numbered them in the 2400 series, and the units were initially assigned to Pensy's priority freights, but were soon bumped to lower freight assignments once the G30s and the GP35s began arriving. The Alco RS-27 model was not a very popular locomotive, with only 27 units built over a 3-year period, with Pennsy owning 15 out of the 27 total built, which was the largest group. So there's 7 slides on the RS-27. Yeah, that's a CB&Q 3 powers, if you notice that, yeah. Notice all them CB&Q units that had some kind of agreement with the Pennsy. You see like a lot of these CB&Q units, they use them in pool service. They come through all the way on the Pennsy from Chicago. You see a lot of Union Pacific. You can see Union Pacific in the back there also. Union Pacific and the Burlington has some kind of pact with the Pennsy that is pool service. This 2414 is probably an Enola. 2414. Date and location unknown. It's 2412. You notice it's sitting next to its competitor, GP30. 2407. 2401 in East Pittsburgh, April 1963. Another shot of 2401. Last shot, this looks like Morrisville Yard, Morrisville, PA, 2401. Next one is the, now we're going to get into these, they started these Century Series. This is a C4, first one was a C424. They only had one unit. I don't have a photo of it, but that was, they had one C424. So by early 1963, the Pennsy was purchasing new locomotives and wanted to compare the new second generation diesels from all manufacturers. But due to the fact that the RS-27 did not have pressurized car bodies and had an inferior air filtering system, they could not equally be compared to AMD's GP30s and GE's U25Bs. AlCO's new Century Series addressed these shortcomings in the RS-27, and in an effort to eventually compete with the GP30s and U25Bs, AlCO prepared a single C424 order. And in April 1963, the Pennsy ordered one C424. I don't have a photo of it, but they only had, it was like a trial engine that they used it to compete with the GP30s and the U25Bs. This is a C425. So they have 31 C425s. These are 25 horsepower class AF25s. So by the time the first C425 arrived in late 1964, the Pennsy already had purchased 52 AMD GP30s, 45 GP35s, and 34 General Electric U25Bs. Obviously, AlCO was the least favorite builder with Pensy's motive power department. Initially assigned to the General Freight Pool based out of Enola, they worked together with their AMD and GE counterparts. So this is a C425, number 2445. Date, location unknown. It's a 2439. Supposed to be Cincinnati, Ohio, March of 1966. This is a C425, 2431. C425, 2426. Looks like somewhere on the middle division or maybe on the north-south main.
No, that's Northern Division.
Where is it?
Northern Division.
Northern Division?
It's not too far from Renova.
Okay, somewhere near Renova, being told. Another shot of 2426. And 2420. This is supposed to be Mingo Junction, Ohio, in January 1965. Looks like it's fairly new out of the shop. The last two classes, you got C628, C630 road units. So C628s, they had 15, they ordered 15 total of them, AF27, 2,700 horsepower. So in November 1964, Pennsy placed an order for 156 new locomotives. Orders went to AMD for 40 SD35s. GE, they got an order for 20 U25Cs, and AlCO got an order for 15 C628s. Shortly after being delivered, 3 units were loaned to the Lehigh Valley for testing, with the Lehigh Valley purchasing 7 of their own C628s. Pensy's C628s were assigned to the Altoona Helper Pool, pushing westbound freights up and over the mountains. Used in pairs, the C628s lasted only about a year in this helper service before being transferred to Conway for mineral train service. So this is a C628, 6309. (6307), date, location unknown. 6311, Walbridge, Ohio, December 68. I'm sorry, 65 rather. And 6305 teamed up. I can't make out the other number, but that's last shot of our C628s. And then the last class they bought from Alco was a C630 series. They had 15 C630s, AF30 class, 3,000 horsepower. So in April of 1966, Pennsy placed its next group of locomotive orders, which totaled 100 units. Again, EMD received the largest share for 65 SD45s. GE got orders for 20 units, which were 15 U28Cs and 5 U30Cs, and Alco received an order for the 15 C630s. It was obvious that EMD was Pensy's builder of choice, but the carrier did not want to ignore the other builders' offerings. Delivered between November and December 1966, the 15 C630s were assigned to the system-wide freight pool based in Conway, Pennsylvania. Here's a C630 number 6317 in Toledo, Ohio, December 67. You can tell the C630 from the C628. The C630s had this big air filtration box behind the cab on top here. 6317, date, location unknown, but it's a Marty Zach shop. 6320, date and location unknown, but they look like they're fairly new. They might have just been delivered. 6322 is saying Renovo, May of 67. And 6328 saying somewhere in Pittsburgh, August 1967. And that's the last slide, the end of the train right there. It's a nice shot of train going around Horseshoe Curve, coal drag. Going down grade, all that brake shoe smoke coming up. That's the slide presentation. Any questions, whatever? Once again, I'd like to thank my friend, Mr. Kenneth Rideout, for allowing me to use his personal